Welcome back. So we are days away from Notre Dame football kicking off, and we're starting this 4:30 half hour with this. We know football season can be stressful. We know it can be bittersweet. Depending on who you root for, you can experience the highest of highs or the lowest of lows, right? That emotional roller coaster can be taxing on you physically, mentally, emotionally. And that is why we brought in Catherine Walden, co-director of Notre Dame Sports Media and Culture minor, to talk all about this, the mental health impacts as well. I feel like you are the perfect guest for this. Thank you so much, Professor, for being here.
Well, Josh, thank you for having me. I feel like I need to start. I am not a licensed mental health professional,
Correct.
but I think a lot about sport and what they mean, and so let's dig in.
That's fair. I love that preface. So let's start here, and I think this is important. Why do you think people are so connected to their sports teams, no matter how bad or good they may be?
Well, it's funny. One of the courses I teach at Notre Dame, and I'm teaching it this semester, is called Football in America. It's all about Notre Dame football history. And we asked this question on Tuesday, our first class: what does Notre Dame football mean and who gets to decide? Also, hi, students. And some of the answers were some of the things that probably your viewers are thinking about: family, community, home, these things that help us make sense of who we are and connect us to the people and places that are important. And so how we make our identity and the things that are part of that, whether it's sport, whether it's religion, whether it's family, all these different things, they matter to us. And we may not even understand how and why.
It's so Americana too. I think that's the big part of it. Okay, so let me talk about really quickly, for me, individually, I may be a fan of a team, and there may be a team that's bad, and I can throw something across the room. It's like, okay, that's me. But what if you're in a relationship, right? And it's during football season, and, you know, Saturday night's usually date night. Well, not during the fall, because there's a lot of football games. How did people navigate that? How should they navigate that? Do you hear a lot about that from some of your students as well?
Well, I would say for our Notre Dame students, they care a lot about Notre Dame football, so it's something that brings our community together across different gender and identity lines. But I mean, again, not a licensed mental health professional, but in general, you want to have good communication with the people that you care about, and your spouse or your partner. The things that matter to them are also things that should matter to you, and vice versa. So this is it's a give and take. If you care a lot about football, your partner might not care as much, but you want to make sure that if you want them to care about football, you also are caring about the things they care about. So making sure that that love and labor is going both ways.
I love the transparency about the fact that you are not a licensed professional. So this next question, I understand you're not a licensed professional, but I can imagine you hear a lot about people saying, look, I love to be online on the apps gambling, whether it's FanDuel, getting that parlay, making sure it hits. Sometimes being in a relationship, that's tough, because the partner is like, hey, we need that $10 for whatever it is. Talk about that a little bit and some of the dynamics that include in that.
Well, and again, this brought to mind one of the other courses I teach for the Sport Media and Culture minor. It's called Sport and Big Data. And just last semester, we did a whole week where we talked about this, because it is a big deal. And the apps and the games and the way that fantasy sports and sports betting are part of our lives.
It's blown up.
It's for everyone, and especially for our students. So I think the first thing is the research gives us some really good questions to ask about what is something that you enjoy versus something that's controlling you and taking over your life. And again, there's lots of good resources for when does something become an addictive or compulsive behavior, what are the things to look out for. But back to the context of you're in a partnership or a marriage, being able to talk about money and be on the same page about how you make financial decisions is important, whether that money is going towards entertainment, fantasy sports, luxury purchases, anything else. If you're in a partnership and you can't talk about how you make financial decisions, that is probably not a good thing.
It's not a good thing. And there, you said it, there are resources for that if you do have gambling issues, of course, which we'll have on our website, WNU.com. Okay, so what advice do you have for people after dealing with those brutal, tough losses, the losses that shouldn't be in the L column, those type of losses? What's your advice?
Well, the good news at Notre Dame is we don't have that many of those, but when we have them, they hurt so much.
I know.
And as I was talking to my students right before I came over here, we were on the fence of should I mention a certain NIU game that happened in a time in the past, or an Ohio State game. But even just thinking about how much we care about those games. We're not on the team. Some of us might have financial stakes in the game, but some of us, we don't live or die based on whether Notre Dame football wins or loses. So that question of what does sport mean to us? What are we hoping for? What do we want out of this team and this game? Doesn't make it any easier, but maybe helps us. One of the students in my class suggested that folks take the long view, and I think that's a good suggestion. So after the Northern Illinois loss, we thought that all hope was lost, but hope springs eternal. eternal. So taking the long view, there will be more games, there will be more seasons. We're not the coach, so we can't control everything.
That's true.
And if we're a fan of something and it's controlling us, we probably want to think through some of the choices we're making.
I love that. I want to leave with this. Football, it is a great way to build fans, community as well, and you know this watching at home and non-fans alike. What ways can people find community if they feel intimidated by the game, whether it's football, basketball, any sport in general?
Well, this is something we think a lot about in our classes for the Sport Media and Culture minor. Many of us are sports fans, but other people know sport is important, but where do you start? If you didn't grow up with it, if it isn't the thing you've been thinking about since you were 5 years old, where do you start? Well, I think the first thing, and I heard a student tell this story just this week, they came to Notre Dame not really being a football fan, but an important part of connecting to Notre Dame was people explaining football to them and welcoming them into the community. And I think about my own story. I really didn't understand football until 20 plus years ago. My grandmother sat me down and we watched a Chiefs game together. So find those people that you're in community with that care about you enough to explain what's going on and help welcome you into the community. And that's probably going to be people in your friend group, for people that are in a family or maybe a faith group or a neighborhood. Find spaces where you feel like you can ask questions and understand and know what's going on. And you might not care about it in the way that other people care about it, but you can at least understand a little bit more about why they care about it, and so you're closer to them.
That's great, and that camaraderie is important too. You had to say Chiefs. This Bears fan isn't the happiest about that. I've heard the Chiefs enough this week.
I'm from St. Louis. My grandmother was from the North, so it's fine. It's fine.
It's in the blood.
We'll live and let live.
Professor, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so
and students,
much.
if you're watching at home, your final is due, so you can turn off the TV now. Andrew, hello to you, sir.